on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36 now on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in. It's your buddy Larry O'Connor along with his buddy Patrice Onwuka. She's your buddy too.
I am. I love everybody out there.
Everybody?
You know, I have love in my heart for everybody.
I love everybody too, except for that one sad, pathetic person from Media Matters who has to sit in a cubicle and moderate and monitor every word that we say. I have pity for him or her or them. Coming up at 8:05, Sean Spicer will join us. But right now, Patrice Onwuka, we are joined by Elizabeth McGuigan. She is the Vice President, Policy and Government Affairs over at the Philanthropy Roundtable, because today's Giving Tuesday. People often carve out this day as the day to make a gift or several gifts to various organizations. Elizabeth, thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, when did the idea of Giving Tuesday start? It's a wonderful thing. It's after all the shopping and all the consumerism. When did this begin?
Yeah, well, Giving Tuesday's been around for many years, but I think the important thing here too is that it's really a reflection about how the season is about more than just good food and times with loved ones. The season of giving is more than a day. It's about joining together to support our neighbors who might be struggling, or helping to uplift the most vulnerable around our country. Yeah. So it's great to have a day where people show gratitude to give back, whether it's through donations to charities or volunteering their time.
The tough thing is, even though we saw some increase in at least cyber and online purchases for Black Friday, the full numbers are still yet to come. We're seeing a lot of people put things on credit cards. Credit card debt is huge right now. And in that kind of climate where people can rationalize, borrowing high interest money from their credit cards to purchase a big ticket item or a concert ticket or something, that's not going to translate into charitable giving. Are you seeing inflation and the overall state of the economy affect charitable donations?
We are. And over the last few years, of course, we've seen Americans step up and join together to address everything from the COVID-19 pandemic to social unrest. So we did see charitable giving dip slightly in 2022 after a few record-breaking years. Giving USA's latest report showed that Americans gave almost $500 billion to charity in 2022. So despite the dip, we know giving was down by just over 10% after adjusting for inflation. This was the first drop in recent years. And as you alluded to, it's driven by economic uncertainty, market contraction, record high inflation. It really wasn't surprising to see a dip in a year where families, they saw their disposable personal income drop by almost 6%. The stock market had its worst performance since 2008. But I think the key here is that this drop followed remarkable growth in philanthropy in prior years and still shows Americans' unwavering support for charity.
Well, Elizabeth, I think what's also interesting is how Americans are giving. They're not just giving directly to organizations, but they're figuring out new ways of really using different charitable giving vehicles to be able to, give to the causes they want right now, but also in the future. Can you talk to us about what some of those giving vehicles are and maybe even how Congress or anyone may be trying to meddle with them?
Absolutely. Two great questions there. Individuals are absolutely giving in new ways. Despite this overall dip that I mentioned, the data also shows promising areas of growth last year, with private foundations, corporations, both seeing increases in their giving. But one of the most exciting ways that individuals are giving right now is through charitable accounts called donor-advised funds. So in 2022, donors used donor-advised funds to grant out a record-breaking $52 billion last year. Wow. So the landscape might be shifting, but overall, private philanthropy really remains essential to helping those who are most vulnerable in our communities, just as it has throughout our history. And Patrice, to your question on legislative threats, at the Roundtable, our goal is to encourage more charitable giving and to get more dollars flowing to causes and communities in need. But right now, we are seeing threats on several fronts. Most of these threats coming out of D.C. are solutions in search of a problem, but things like calling for forced disclosure of anonymous donors are going to lead to people giving less when more is needed.
So what's the best advice for people? Because there was a time when, I've always thought that the best thing to do is to give locally, give to your church. You can actually see and participate in how that money is used. And the larger sort of unifund, giant charitable organizations, there's got so much overhead. There's so much administrative cost. I mean, but when people really want to make a difference, what's the best way to be charitable?
That's a great question, because there are so many ways that people can really support their communities and people in need throughout the world this season. I would suggest, start by considering the causes or communities that you value most highly. So whether it's education, workforce development, mental health, poverty alleviation, et cetera, there are really great nonprofits of all shapes and sizes to join in promoting great solutions. Then I'd encourage everyone to be deliberate and strategic. So think about what you're seeking to accomplish through your giving, whether this is a one-time investment or a multi-year gift. And then finally, engage with organization leadership to make sure you're actually aligned on values, to make sure your partnership is moving the needle in the right direction. So there's so many different ways to give back. There are great benefits to partnering with some of the large organizations that have an outsized impact in the causes and communities we care about. And there's also, like you said, really important role that small nonprofits and charities play in communities throughout the country. Both are important. I think that the issue here is just making sure that people still have the freedom to give how, when, and where they choose.
Elizabeth McGuigan, Vice President, Policy and Government Affairs at the Philanthropy Roundtable. Thanks for joining us and especially drawing attention to those concerns about disclosures of anonymous donors and such. That's something we're going to keep an eye on. Thank you. Have a great Charitable Giving Tuesday. And
thank you.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out that this Thursday and Friday we will be doing our annual Fisher House Radiothon to raise money for that great organization. You talk about low administrative costs. They've got literally one of the best records in the entire industry, if we can call it that, of dollars, the percentage of your dollar that goes right to the cause, to the spouses, parents, siblings, and children of members of the military who are seeking medical care. Your money goes directly to them right when they need it most. So if you're giving today on Giving Tuesday, hold a little bit off for Thursday when we do our Fisher House Radiothon. It is 7:44 now, and I want to tell you about my friends at Reynolds and Power Home Team. Sarah and Debbie Reynolds, by the way, with Keller Williams, they're carving out a good chunk of change to give to Fisher House as well.